Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. Today is Monday, November the 1st, and yes, it is already November. You have like 55 days until Christmas, so you better get out there and get those DFS Coach Talk gifts from our awesome store on our website for Christmas. We have some cool stuff on there, so check us out. Well, it was an interesting weekend. Lots of crazy sports stuff. Big comeback in baseball by the Astros after being down 4-0 in the first inning. That was amazing. I was pretty fired up by that crazy Cowboys stealing a game with the backup quarterback. That was fun. We did have a sporadic day of some wins, some losses. It was an interesting day across the DFS coach landscape, but we did have everybody sweating PGA, NFL, NBA, and MLB throughout the weekend. So big reset now. We're ready to go for this week. It should be fantastic. We're going to get all our coverage here like crazy at DFS Coach Talk, like always. We'll have Andrew Hansen and his NFL gang handling the Monday night game tonight. And if you haven't listened to that podcast by Andrew and Crash, it is up now. So go check that out for the Monday night game. And then they'll be coming back in for the Thursday night game. And of course, all of the Sunday action. So we're loaded with NFL, all kinds of lineups and information, and love to share that with you. Baseball, obviously, we're going at least game 6 tomorrow in Houston, and if necessary, the following day, game 7. Nothing more exciting than a World Series that comes down to game 6 or game 7. So Crash will be covering that and supplying lineups tomorrow. And then golf, Andrew and I will be here Wednesday to do our golf podcast for the week for the tournament this weekend. And we do provide lineups for the whole entire tournament Wednesday nights, and then we do them Friday nights for the weekend only. And then our feature sport here at Coach Talk, the NBA. We handle 7-day-a-week podcasts for the NBA. We go through every game on every slate, and we do that in front of the paywall. We would love to have you join us, though. DFSCoachTalk.com. Jump in with us. Check it out. You can get as little as a 3-day pass for $10 or a 5-day for $19. And we would love to have you. So we're looking for you. As we're jumping into this, because I'm going to go strong through these 9 games on the NBA main slate. Before we start, though, thumbs up real quick if you're watching on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. That's important. And a little comment. That makes a big difference. Just enjoyed the pod, whatever. Question, comment, that combination of thumbs up, subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, and then giving us a comment means a lot and really helps us move up that algorithm on YouTube. Also, hit that little bell up in the upper corner. That alarm or alert button will let you know when any of our NBA podcasts post, and we do have podcasts in all 4 of our major sports. If you're listening on audio podcast, and I mentioned that today because today is the first day for a new month. We'll be announcing later today in our Discord and on Twitter who our winner was for October. In order to re-enter, if you entered and did not win in October, you can give that a shot today. All you have to do, any of the podcast landing sites, whether it be Podbean, Stitcher, Amazon Music, iTunes, Spotify, on and on. Any of them, if you can give a 5-star or whatever the top rating is, give us a quick comment. If you give us that rate and review, our man Joe Stanton will randomly pick out all those names and put them in the randomizer, and someone will win a free 1-week membership to Coach Talk. So excited to announce that winner today, and then we'll have a new contest starting today as well. All right, no further ado. Not going to mess around here. We're going to fire through these games. I want to give everybody the chance to listen to this on their lunch hour, during work, if you can, if you're allowed to do that, or on the way home from work. We're really going to try to break down these 9 games and give you a good idea of what to play. Okay, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, the first game on the slate. There are 3 games at 7 p.m. Eastern. So we have 3 7 p.m. Eastern games. The first one is very intriguing. Nice over-under. It's the Portland Trailblazers at the Philadelphia 76ers. Philly is favored by 5.5. The over-under is 220.5. Implied total for Portland, 107.5. For Philly, it's 113. As far as the records for these two teams coming in, Portland is 3-3. Philadelphia is 4-2. And from the injury side, none reported for Portland, so that's good news on their side. And then just Riller and Simmons out for Philly. All the rest of their guys are in. So we should be good to go. This should be a really entertaining game. Let's talk real quickly some prices, and I'll refer to DraftKings. We do supply for DraftKings, FanDuel, and Yahoo, but to make it not a forever long podcast, we'll just refer to DK for these purposes. All right, you take a look at the Trailblazers. Dame Lillard, 9.6. He hasn't really been Dame time as much this year. He's been good. He's been fine. Does he fit in this game against Philly with a decent over-under? It's possible. But, I don't know if I want to go the 9-6 against that good interior defense from Philly. He's going to have to hit just a load of threes in order to make his number. I mean, I always liked Lillard. I hate to not be on him when he does have one of those smash games, but I'm just not going to go up that high. McCollum's up to 8K, but a lot of stuff is running through him. I've noticed, Lillard actually has been allowing McCollum to run a little bit more of the offense than he has in the past. Maybe that, Lillard wants to keep fresher for playoff times or when those times come around. After that, Nurk at 7-7, can't go there with Joel Embiid defense personally. But if you want to go super cheap, you've got a couple of options here. Powell at 4.8, Covington at 4.4, but it's hard on this big of a slate, 9-gamer, to really take shots on those guys if it's not a GPP. As far as Philly, the only guys I want to mention there, I think Joel Embiid, of course, at 10-3 is a decent play. He's not totally smashing his numbers. And when you need, a guy to get 65 or 70 to make you feel good about it, yeah, it's, it seems like this is the year that you can't just plug in the high price guys. I mean, let's face it, the last couple of years, we would sit back, we'd put in Westbrook, we'd put in Harden, we'd put in Embiid, we'd put those main guys, the Joker, and then you just sit back, fill in with some of the rest, and you were done. It's not happening this year. The all-stars are shooting and superstars are shooting less foul shots. The rule change has affected them, and it's really even the playing field a little bit. So it's, to get those big price guys, I'm starting to fade away from that a little. Go with maybe that second tier, the $8,000-$9,000 guys. This way you can fit more in. You don't have to dumpster dive for your last couple of players. But that's what I have learned the most from this first week. I mean, we're 10 days into the season or whatever it is. Teams have played like 5-6 games. But, that's what I've learned so far. That rule change has made a big difference. And teams seems, even the studs, like I said, Giannis, Lillard, all of these guys that we just felt, okay, plug them in. There's 50, 60 easy, and then we'll fill in around them. That's the thing I wanted to mention today the most. And I bring it up now with Embiid at 10-3 because, my builds, I'm going to try to shift a little bit. You got to shift in this world in DFS because it changes all the time. And, those people that continue to ride these high price guys and they get your 40, 42 fantasy points, DFS points, it's not going to get you there because, unless you're really lucky with a secondary guy that blows up. But, that doesn't mean you just automatically fade the Embiids and Lillards and Giannis's of the world. You're still going to have to play them when they're in a really good matchup. So wanted to mention that because I think it's key. It really is. And Some of the one-on-ones I'm doing with our members, we're talking about that right now. A little shift in strategy, and I think that you're going to see a difference. So, I'm not sure Embiid at 10-3 really against Nurkic and Covington and some of that inside defense, Nance and a few guys that can block some shots. Embiid's awesome. He's playing good ball. He's always a decent play, but that is a big, big number. Harris at 9-1 also has crept up. That's the other thing that has changed. DraftKings and FanDuel even have really adjusted the pricing on the better players, moved them up. So, those days of playing 3 superstars are pretty much over. You can't even fill in with guys, unless you go down to min price and hope they get 10 minutes. So, the pricing is also affected this entire situation as well. So, not really high on this game, even though it's a 220.5 over under. You will consider McCollum possibly, but a little high. Powell, Covington as maybe bargains, and then only Embiid if I can fit him, more than likely in one of my GPPs. All right, let's go to game 2. It is the San Antonio Spurs at the Indiana Pacers. It's 218.5 over under, which is low. Indiana's favored by 4 in this game, implied for San Antonio 107.25. For the Pacers, it's 111.25. So, excuse me. Records here, San Antonio 2-4. And how about Indiana Pacers are 1-6? Ouch. They have been just crushed by injuries, and they have the Carlisle factor. Sorry, I had to throw that in there. Injury-wise, Collins and McDermott remain out for the Spurs. Indiana, mixed bag of tricks here. Martin probable. Brogdon and LeVert are questionable. So hard to really break this game down, not knowing if those 2 guys are going to play, because it changes everything. So we definitely need to follow that. Lamb is doubtful, and Jackson and Warren are out. So let's take a look at how this breaks out, and if there's anybody that jumps out for us on this side. We know that rotation for San Antonio. Murray's just way too high. 9.2 for Murray. No, thank you. I don't care if he was a 1.5x guy in points here. That price is ridiculous. Derek White's more reasonable at 6.4. Lonnie Walker at 4.7 is a nice little play. Jakob Poeltl, 7.2. You got to respect him. He's been terrific. He does go against the double bigs with Sabonis and Turner, but I'd like to see Poeltl go south of 7K, and I'd jump back on him. Keldon Johnson, just too much of a GPP play at 5.7. So really, if I went on, the bench isn't even worth mentioning to me. But White and Walker as a cheap one or the other, a White Walker, it's back to Game of Thrones. But White or Walker are both value plays that could be utilized. All right, the Indiana Pacers. Again, how the hell do you break this down if you don't know if Brogdon and LeVert are going to play? So, I'm not going to say a whole lot other than Poeltl's interior defense is pretty good. So not really feeling it with Sabonis at 10.1. Turner at 5.9, it is tempting, possibly just because of the cheap price. But, Brogdon at 8.9, LeVert at 7.5. I would consider either one of them. If they play, they're announced in with no limitations. Duarte at 5.6. If both of those guys sit, Brogdon and LeVert, then I am going to play Chris Duarte, and I'm probably going to take a long look at TJ McConnell. So again, news relevant here. Follow us on Discord and on Twitter. We're at DFS Coach Talk on Twitter. I'm at Joe Sarvadi, JoeSarvadi. All right, we go to game 3, the last 7 p.m. Eastern start. It's the Cleveland Cavaliers and Charlotte Hornets. Charlotte's favored by 5.5. It's a nice, juicy 223.5 over under. Cleveland's implied 109. Charlotte 114.5. So you got some numbers here to work with on this one for sure. As far as who's out, Okoro and Pangos for Cleveland. No injuries for Charlotte. Rozier is questionable though, because he did come back yesterday and played well, Will he go on a back-to-back? Just coming back from injury, I'm not real confident of that. I think that he may sit, or it may be the situation where he just plays limited. So I'm going to look elsewhere. As far as the Cleveland side goes, I think Darius Garland is in play at 6.2. He's outplayed Sexton. He looks really good. He's a guy you can consider. Lauri Markkanen at 5.3 remains cheap and is producing. In a high-scoring game like this, he can definitely get to his number. And as long as Okoro stays out, Markkanen is definitely in play. Now, the two questions are the two bigs. It comes down to this a lot. Mobley 6'7", Allen 6'1". It's a tough call. I think Mobley is going to have Miles Bridges really outsized, but Bridges is so strong and such a jumper, it makes it tough. So don't know I'm going to go there in either direction with either big from Cleveland, but I'd lean towards Mobley over Allen. Rubio has to be considered all the time too. He's just been an absolute monster. He's 5.5. And, Rozier's the best perimeter defender for Charlotte. If he sits, it definitely brings Garland and or Rubio into play for me. If he plays, it's a little bit tougher. So we're going to need that news as well. On the Charlotte side, LaMelo Ball at 8.5. It's getting a little too pricey for my liking. But if Rozier sits, Ball's probably going to be the pay-up guy for me. You guys and gals know I attack that Garland-Sexton backcourt. So Ball will be in my lineup, even though he's overpriced. If Rozier sits, if Rozier plays, I probably will not go there except for GPP. You could look at Hayward at 7.6. Okoro's a good defender. He plays Hayward tough, but he's out. Markkanen is not a good defender. They don't have a good matchup for him. And Hayward's my favorite guy, especially for sure 100% for me if Rozier sits. But I'm still going to have Gordon Hayward in a lot of my builds, cash and also GPP. 7.6 is fair. I like those give me those mid-7 guys all day long. Speaking of that, we got Miles Bridges at 7.9. So, been a fantastic player this year. He really has. Certainly you could consider him if you're going with that mid-level build. He fits. Mobley and Allen are good. They block shots, but they can be beat at the rim, and Bridges can also hit some threes, draw those guys out. So Bridges, it could be a Charlotte Hornets night for me, to be honest with you. This game could be the key game. Right now, if I was forced to make a lineup, I'd probably have Garland, Hayward, and Bridges in there. But again, I want that news on Rozier. Plumlee at 6.3, just a smidgen too high for my liking. And then, Oubre's been phenomenal at 5.7. He had a breakout game the last game. I don't want to chase that game. But you do have to consider him if Rozier sits. So we just need to follow that. But certainly not a good recipe when a guy throws a monster game on the board out of nowhere like that to follow him up that next day. That just never seems to work out very well. PJ Washington, okay, at 5.5. I wouldn't play him. All right, we go to game 4. I told you we're moving today. We are moving, so get those notes ready. Get your brain ready to absorb this because I'm firing it. All right, we got a very poor over-under in this game. It's Toronto Raptors at the Knicks. Knicks by 6.5. It's only 211, and it's an implied total for Toronto, 102.25. Knicks 108.75. Interesting here, there are some things you want to consider. If we're on our mid-build price bandwagon, Scotty Barnes at 6.8 fits into that. OG Anunoby at 7.4 fit into that. I like both of those guys. Another guy that I like that really kicked ass for me this weekend was Gary Trent Jr. He's playing monster minutes, and he's scoring and doing some good stuff out there, and he's only 4.8. So if you can get a sub-5 guy that's getting 30-plus minutes and producing and probably going to get Evan Fournier defense or Kemba Walker, or none of those guys in their backcourt can really defend. So, Trent's the man of choice right now. Wouldn't dispel Barnes or Anunoby. On as far as bench, I don't think we need to go that deep on Toronto, especially on a 9-game slate. Knicks, Kemba's played better. Don't trust his minutes all the time, but you always, when you got Kemba at sub-6, you always have to glance at it. Not my favorite play, but he certainly has improved. I can't take the timeshare with Rose and Quickly and all those guys. It's frustrating. Fournier just isn't my cup of tea. I know he gets to his number. RJ Barrett is up to 7K. Julius Randle at 9.7 is tough, but in this slower pace game, he's going to get some Anunoby defense, maybe a little Scotty Barnes to harass him. I know that Toronto doesn't have a regular big, but the split they're getting between Achua and Birch, I think, is good enough. So I'm not going to go all the way up to 9-7 Randall. As far as the Robinson situation at center at 5K, I dipped my toe into that water, unfortunately, and it got bit off here by an alligator. So, no, I know Mitch can throw 5-6 blocks, but he splits time. He's just not a fantastic fantasy player right now, and he sure looked like he was going to be, the year before last, leading into last year. But at 5K, give it a shot if you want. I wouldn't recommend it in anything but a GPP. As far as that game also, let's see here. We've got a line. We've got also Raptors are 4-3, Knicks are 5-1. We do know that this is the question here. I mentioned about Barnes. He's questionable. One report even has him doubtful. So that would really shift some things for Toronto with their rotation. Whether they go bigger with a Birch Achua or, somebody else in that rotation gets in there, because they're still missing Siakam and Watanabe. Those are the three guys all play that small 3 or 4 position, mainly the 4. So we'll see where Toronto goes here. They'll certainly slow it down and try to limit possessions for the Knicks. The only guy that's questionable for the Knicks is Noel. If he does play now, you've got Robinson, Gibson, and Noel at center. Yeah, not even a GPP consideration under those circumstances. All right, game 5. It is a 7:30 Eastern game. It's a Washington Wizards and Atlanta Hawks. Atlanta's favored by 5.5. It's a nice 221 number. 107.75 for the Wizards, 113.25 for the Hawks. Very good numbers on both sides of that. And then we've got injury-wise, we know Washington's been dinged quite a bit. Gill, not that he's in the rotation, is probable. Same with Winston. The big questions are, you've got Gafford questionable. So if he's out, that's going to create some issues. You've got Thomas Bryant out, we know, and Hashimura out, we also know. Montrezl Harrell, is he going to play? That's the other question. If Harrell plays, he's been a smash play. But, is he healthy? Can he get in there? Are he or Gafford going to play? Okongwu is the only guy out for Atlanta. So as of right now, we just need to see what's going to go on here. Harrell has been pretty much a plug and play at 6.7 with what he can do on the floor, especially if Gafford's out. I'm all for that. If he's splitting with Gafford, then that's a bit of a concern. So I do want that news before I make any decision there. Spencer Dinwiddie's now risen up to 7.3, which is a bit much for me. Bradley Beal at 10 has not been, he's been in that group that I mentioned, those superstars that we used to count 60, 65 like a layup, but it just hasn't happened. He's probably also going to get some DeAndre Hunter defense, which is tough. And so I'm not going Beal. KCP, if you have the stomach for it, he's only 3.8. I get it. But, he did have, again, chasing a good game is hard to do. But, man, he's going to be on the floor for a lot of minutes. He's a terrific perimeter defender. Lakers definitely miss him on the defensive side. but you can go there if you want. The theory of the mid-level build, Kuzma at 7-3, not bad. But I do really appreciate the interior defense of Atlanta with Collins and Capella in there. So not real high on Washington tonight. Trae Young is interesting to me at 9-3. This seems like the kind of game he could have the big game, but again, you're fearful because he's been throwing 36, 37 fantasy point games up there, which is, it's just not going to get it done for you at that price. Other than that, I really, as much as I love DeAndre Hunter, just the split with Reddish is just not, palatable for me. Can't do it. And now that Gallinari's back, Lou Williams, they try to get some minutes. It makes it hard, but the prices are cheap on Collins and Capella comparative. So I think they're both in play. You've got Collins at 6-8, which is very fair. Capella at 7-4. So even on the low end of that mid build, I think both of those guys need to be considered. All right, 5 games down, 5 games to go. We would love to have you at DFS Coach Talk. All I'll say is go to DFSCoachTalk.com, give us a try. And this is the thing that you need to know. When you sign up with us, regardless if it's a 3-day pass for $10, a 5-day for $19, or if it's for the NFL season, the NBA season, a full year, whatever you sign up for, when we send you that Discord invite and you join us as part of the Coach Talk family, you get everything that we have, including inside information on statistical analysis, crunchers. We have a great relationship partnering with a Pro Football Focus for our NFL stuff. It just goes on and on. We don't just provide lineups for hand-built lineups. We do all the work in the background. We're following all the news on Fantasy Labs and everywhere else, posting it in Discord, staying up to speed. And here's the thing, you get all of our sports when you join us. You don't get just one. So you sign up with us, you get everything that we've got. And that is a really good calling card that a lot of our competitors don't do. Also, we love to teach a bankroll management and contest selection element. I think that makes a huge difference for people to understand how important that is in being a long-term success in DFS. And if you follow us and work with us, I'm happy to do one-on-ones with all of our members. It allows you to sustainably grow your bankroll in DFS. That's our goal for you, regardless of which sports you play. We also focus on the 4 main sports in our minds: basketball, football, baseball, and golf. We want to be the best of the best. We don't want to offer you cross-country skiing and skeet shooting. God bless those guys that can provide for that stuff, but I just don't think that's the place to go. If you want the bigger tournaments, the better chance to cash, focus in, be the best at what you're doing. Don't spread it out too thin. And we've been tempted to go into other sports, but there's no reason. Let's dominate these. Come with us at DFS Coach Talk, and let's just crush it for the long term. Game 6. This game is also 7:30. It is the Chicago Bulls at the Boston Celtics. Very tight spread here. Boston by 1. 109.25 for Boston, 108.25 for the Celtics. As far as injuries in this game, Kobe White and Patrick Williams remain out. Williams out for the year. Boston is not reporting any injuries, which is very unusual. So you break this down. Lower scoring game, but this could be a tight game, so you could get big minutes. How do you differentiate between Ball, Levine, DeRozan, and Vuk, the big 4 for the Bulls? This has been something we've talked about pretty much every time the Bulls play, and you just have to really look at the matchups. And what I see in these matchups is I don't want to play against one-on-one against Smart, Brown, or Tatum. Those 3 guys are monsters. Al Horford knows how to defend. He is definitely crafty, and Robert Williams can block some shots and get a body on people. So the matchups, Boston is a pretty good team. I mean, they should win more just based on their defensive prowess. They just haven't been completely healthy and been able to attack it. So, Ball at 7-7, like I say, that's the other Ball, but he's also mid-priced. Just, the Marcus Smart defense or Jaylen Brown defense, however that goes, is a little rough. Zach LaVine, I think at 9K is a little too expensive with all the different players that could jump into this for them. DeRozan at 8-6, also a little overpriced. Vuk's the guy that I'm interested in at center. He's 9-4, which is a little high, but I think he can attack some of that interior. Robert Williams is a little undersized. Grant Williams comes in. He's a little undersized. So Vuk's the play for me on the Bulls side of the ball, just based on matchups and recency, DRPM, all of that stuff. Not really wanting to go deeper on the bench there. I know a lot of people played Caruso this weekend, but I'm not as comfortable at 4.1 for cash lineups, maybe for GPPs. On the other side of the ball, though, I'm interested in the two studs here. I'm probably going to play one of them. It's so close between them right now that I haven't made that decision yet. But Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, 8.8 and 9.9. So you do get a little relief, $1,000 for Brown, and he has been performing for the most part as well as Tatum. So leaning a little bit that way. I like them both. I think they both could have standout games here. And that's where I would go for the Celtics. Game 7, we move to an 8 o'clock game. We have two of them. So we have two 8 o'clock games, and then we have a real, true late night sweat game at 10:30. So we get that big 2.5-hour window for that last game. So that is always interesting. So I guess you can watch Monday Night Football, watch all that roll out, and then flip over and catch at least the second half of the late game. All right, the Denver Nuggets and Memphis Grizzlies. It's Memphis by 1.5, 216 over under. Implied total for Denver, 107.25, and for Memphis, 108.75. As far as injuries go in this game, it looks like we have Canchar and Murray out. Chanchar, I can always have trouble saying it. Dylan Brooks still hasn't suited up for Memphis, and they need him. Nuggets are 4-2. Grizzlies are 3-3. This should be a really entertaining game. I definitely want to catch some of this game. I agree that the spread would be this tight. So let's take a look at it. Where do we go from here? The Joker, 11K. He can be your pay-up guy. There's no question about it. You're going to have to lose a little bit of that mid-level build and go with a value play with a 9-game slate. There should be some big value that opens up throughout the day. So, the Joker is a great play here. There's no question about it. He's looking good. I don't think that injury is anything. He didn't play extra minutes in that blowout game. Why would you? So, Joker's in play for me. And a lot of times I'll just eliminate him initially. I just think he's playing so well and just looks so good. And if this game stays as close as I think it will, I think he could have a big night. After that, you got Barton cheaper at 5.7, a consideration. Not looking at the other guys, just too much bench, not enough production. Ja Morant at 9.5. He's a stud, man. He's playing. He looks like the most improved player, and he was good last year. I mean, he's knocking threes down. If he keeps shooting 40% plus from three with the explosiveness and speed that he has, and then once they eliminate that breakaway foul next year, which they will, forget it. I mean, guys like Morant and De'Aaron Fox, those guys that can get out and run that break, lights out, because they're not going to get fouled like they are now. And it's going to be, 3-on-2s, 2-on-1s. Can't wait to see that. But Ja at 9.5, it's tempting, but man, is that a high price. He's up there with the big boys. So I'm not sure that I definitely want to go there. I have more interest in the other two guys, DeAnthony Melton at 5.7 and Desmond Bane at 5.3. Bane especially, he's taken a much bigger role as second-year player, as a scorer, playing with a lot more confidence. I think both of those guys are interesting to me, leaning towards Bane. Triple J 5-4. He gets Aaron Gordon defense. Aaron Gordon's a shutdown defender, and he gets in foul trouble. I'm not on the Triple J bandwagon. Steven Adams at 4-9. He'll have his hands full, probably getting a little foul trouble. And if he does, the Joker just should crunch the other guys that come in, Tillman or Clark or whoever they try to play at the big or Triple J. So even another reason to like the Joker here. All right, the other 8 p.m. game, Orlando Magic at Minnesota Timberwolves. It is Minnesota by 9. They're playing some good ball. 216 is the over-under. 103.5 for Orlando. 112.5 for Minnesota. Injuries. Orlando still has their huge amount. Gary Harris, questionable. And then guys that are out. MCW, Fultz, Isaac Moore. Same group. So we're basically down to the same, matchup here. Orlando's 1-6. Minnesota's only 3-2, but definitely playing much better than they had before. No injuries listed for Minnesota. So where do we look at here? Cole Anthony is all the way up to 7-2, but he's played like a 7-2 guy. I don't respect Russell and Edwards' defense, although Edwards is really improving defensively. Keep an eye on him. Because if he starts playing both ends of the floor and improves the way he has so far defensively, he's going to be a monster. But Cole Anthony at 7-2 fits that medium build. I think that he's over 7 is going to scare some people. It was so nice when we could put Cole Anthony in there at 4-8 and 5-2 and whatever he used to be. It was awesome. But I still like him here. I think he's got a good potential to do well. After that, it's interesting. Mo Bamba at 7-1, some interest there. He's been so consistent. I'm interested to see though, if he's drawn out, if Cat's going to get a bunch of threes and get him away from the basket. That's the only thing that scares me on that price tag. Wendell Carter still is at 5-7 and he continues to produce decent DFS numbers. I think you got to consider him as well. Off the bench, a little deeper now with Ross and Okeke. If Harris plays, Hampton plays, the other Wagner brother. Franz at 5K as a starter, not bad. I just am not crazy about either the McDaniels or Vanderbilt matchup defensively. But if you want to go cheaper, he certainly remains an option. On the Minnesota side, D'Angelo Russell at 7-6. I think I'd rather have Cole, believe it or not. And that I wouldn't have said at the beginning of the season, but that's just the way it's gone. I mean, you're getting Patrick Beverly playing a nice chunk of time at the point, and I think that takes a little away from Russell. I like Anthony Edwards. He's 8-2, which is very pricey. I just think he can pay that off against the Suggs and Ross and Harris. Whoever's playing defense against him, I think it's just the matchup is better for him from a defensive real plus minus standpoint, and his effectiveness should be at a high level tonight. So if I'm hoping I can get the salary, because I wish he was a little cheaper, but at 8-2, I think he's a really good play. Cat at 10-5, is he going to be the big spend up guy? I'd rather go with the Joker for $500 more. It comes down to that. So do I think Cat could have a monster game? Absolutely. I mean, I'll probably have him in my coach's clipboard, but I would favor Jokic for just that extra $500. All right, last game, 10:30, sweat game. Oklahoma City Thunder at LA Clippers. It's only a 212.5, and it's an 11-point favoritism for the Clippers. So you get the double whammy here, which we see a lot in Thunder games. Double-digit favorite for the Clippers and a lower over-under. 100.75 implied for the Thunder, 111.75 for the Clippers. As far as any injuries in this game, none reported for the teenagers of Oklahoma City. A lot for the Clippers. Question mark on Johnson. He may or may not play. But we know that Ibaka, Leonard, Morris, and Preston are out for the Clippers. Clippers are 1-4. How about that? And the Thunder 1-5. So Clippers desperate for a win here. Does this game blow out? Thunder on the West Coast road trip. Scary. And I mean, of course you want to have some exposure in this game because again, it's that late night game. It's nice to at least have somebody going. Not that should affect you. If they rank way below, don't just play them because it's the late game. But there are some good prices here. I think Shea Gilgeous-Alexander at 7-8. He falls in the upper echelon of that mid-tier build, but he's perfect fit in that build. He's going to get Jackson and Bledsoe defense, which isn't phenomenal. But when Man comes in, Man is a pretty good defender. So that'll bother him. Really that's going to be a big thing. I'm going to go back through quite a bit of information here and look at the matchups when the Thunder and Clippers have played and determine in that rotation with this new team, with Bledsoe wasn't on the team before. So we have to make some assumptions and see how much Man is going to play him. So we'll check that out and make that determination later on Shea. As far as the other cheaper guys, Josh Giddey's been terrific. He's 5'2", but he's probably going to get Paul George defense. And that's enough, for me to back off of him. But at 5'2", the guy's got triple-double potential, and he's getting big minutes. Somewhat blowout proof as well. So a consideration there. The other guys are cheap, but you can't trust them. I mean, if you want to play Dort, I get it at 4-6, but he doesn't smash the slate. Baisley, Jeremiah Robinson, Earl, Derek Favors, Kenrich Williams, Teo Maladon, Pokacheski, Roby. It's a mess, and they're not good. They play a lot of guys. They have a million draft picks, and they're probably going to have the worst record in the league, possibly. So, yeah, it's hard here because you don't want to put much stock in this late game if it is going to blow out. But if some reason the Thunder keep it close, I mean, they were down 26 on the Lakers and came back to beat them, which was the craziest thing I've seen thus far this season. So you just never know in DFS. So, that's somewhere you have to look at. If I do go with Shea, I would like to have a guy to come back with on the other side. Paul George at 10-7, though. I mean, he's another guy. It's in that upper echelon that, can he get 65 or 70? Yes, he can, but he hasn't been doing it. So, you can keep spending up for these guys and have them, 3.5, 4X or barely squeaking a 5X. And maybe you need that, maybe those points are important, but at 10-7, I just can't do it. I get it. And it'd be nice to be able to, sit on that late game with Paul George in your back pocket. But I think you got to sacrifice too much on your build prior to that. Not interested in all those bench guys and Zubats, Hartenstein, all that baloney. I do think, like I say, I would like to come back with either Jackson or Bledsoe on the other side. Bledsoe's been much improved, by the way. He is definitely playing better. You got Reggie Jackson at 6 and Eric Bledsoe at 4-7. Dort's going to spend his time on Paul George, so we don't have to worry about that. And the other defenders, for the Thunder just aren't at the level of like a Dort. So I think Jackson or Bledsoe will definitely be in my lineup as a cheaper option. So it would feel good to go like Shea and Reggie in this last game and have the backcourt guys ready to roll. That's certainly a possibility for me as we look to try to balance out this slate. All right, my friends, I moved as quickly as I could. My goal was 45 minutes. I'm at 44. That's pretty damn good. Hopefully everybody gets a good chance to check this out. 9-game slates in the NBA are absolutely wheelhouse. I like that 8 to 15 games. That's my favorite area to play in. I think it gives us a big edge in the industry. And we'd love to have you. DFSCoachTalk.com. Come and join us. And for my basketball partners, Mr. Andrew Hansen, Mr. Josh Crash Davis, and for our entire team at DFS Coach Talk, I am Joe Sarvati, and we will look to crush it again tomorrow in DFS.